responsibility of the state to provide assistance to citizens who need help, poor or those at risk of becoming poor. Social protection policies are a set of public policies whose objective is to help people who are poor so that they don't fall into destitution, or protect people from falling into poverty.
Napasalamat ako kasi pagdating na pantawid nga na isa ako sa listahan, salamat ko na nakatulong sa amin sa pag-aaral ng aking mga anak.
Gusto ko kapag nakapagtapos kami, lahat ng mga pangangailangan ng pamilya ko natutugunan sa pagkain, medikal, edukasyon at pangkalusugan, sir.
Ako po mismo, ako na po yung magpapatunay na sobrang laib na po nung naitulong at maitutulong pa po ng programa.
The Philippines is composed of over 7,100 islands and 100 million citizens, making it the 12th most populated country in the world. Almost a quarter of Filipino families live on just $8 a day. For an average family of 4, that income is simply not enough. Basic commodities are not necessarily cheaper here than in more developed countries. The Philippines has one of the highest electricity rates in the world, paying even more for power than Hong Kong, South Korea, and the UK. A staple in the local diet, rice is sold here at some of the most expensive prices in Asia. Metro Manila, the capital city, tells a story of contrasts. On the one hand, it is the perfect epicenter for one of the fastest growing economies worldwide. High-end shopping malls and expensive high-rises are everywhere, often built just a few meters away from densely packed slum areas, where some of the nation's poorest face a very different reality. Even before dawn, Angelita Martinez's day has begun. This 56-year-old mother of 7 and grandmother of 2 is already at the wet market, sourcing produce for her food cart microbusiness.
Ang kinikita ko po ay mga 200, pero pag sinuwerte po, maka 300 po naman ako ng isang araw. Tapos ang mister ko po sa pamamasada po niya, mga 150 to 250 din po sa isang araw. Medyo kapusan na, pero konting tipid lang po na pagkakasya naman po namin.
At first glance, the Martinezes seem to be doing fine. Their clothes are clean, they live in a decent house, they even have a flat-screen TV. But a closer look at the combined income of Angelita and her husband Sabino reveals the family's struggle for subsistence.
Yung grade 7 po at saka yung grade 10 ko, dahil naglalakad lang po sila, hindi na sila, inihahatid po ng kanilang father, 30 pesos per day po sa kanila. Tapos yung college po namin, 50 pesos per day po.
Gusto namin ng mabuhay at kumita ng magandang pera, yung galing sa pawis namin. Kahit mahirap, ulan at init ang kalaban mo dito, tinitiis namin yun.
Work isn't always steady. 5 of the Martinez children have to pitch in. Finding it difficult to juggle work and school, some of them have simply dropped out. And even with 7 salaries coming in, they are still living hand to mouth. To prevent families like the Martinezes from falling deeper into poverty, government programs provide a safety net. In the Philippines, one such initiative is the Conditional Cash Transfer Program.
Conditional cash transfer programs emerged naturally as a response to different crises in many countries, and the pioneers were Mexico and Brazil. Very positive results in terms of poverty reduction, increasing human capital, increasing education, increasing health. The World Bank and other institutions started sharing these knowledge and information with other countries that were facing similar crises or similar dilemmas on how to make their social assistance programs much more effective.
The Conditional Cash Transfer Program is known here as the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program. Now 9 years running, its current budget of $1.3 billion keeps 4.4 million families afloat. With a staff of 13,000 social workers and 80,000 volunteer parent leaders, Pantawid is the widest-reaching program of its kind in the Philippines.
The Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program started on a meeting with World Bank in Istanbul.
My colleagues who were based in Manila suggested to then DSWD officials to attend the conference.
And from there proceeded to do a pilot during the administration of President Arroyo.
The Aquino administration decided not only to continue the program, but to expand it significantly.
Over 2 presidential administrations now, the program has also successfully expanded its coverage from primary to secondary education, targeting students who are most at risk of dropping out of school.
The changing conception of the conditional cash transfer programs is that it goes beyond the typical charity programs. As I was mentioning before, conditional cash transfer programs require beneficiaries to do something in exchange. And that's why we interpret this as a contract.
Pantawid is by the name in itself, Bali, it's a bridge actually. You move people from one level to the other, making sure that they don't fall into the cracks again. Kahit maliit po yung insentibo na binibigay natin sa pamilya, ito po yung kakulangan lagi ng mga anak natin sa eskwela. Kahit kaya natin papasukin ng libre, syempre yung pamasahe, yung panggasto sa araw-araw, yun yung wala.
Cash grants vary according to level of need, covering a maximum of 3 children per family, regardless of how many children the parents may have. Grantees are given 300 pesos per month for elementary students and 500 pesos for high school students. An additional 500 peso health grant supplements every household. Families may receive anywhere between 500 to 2,000 pesos per month. Mothers are the registered grantees in a family, and ATM cash cards are issued under their name. This grant is not a donation. In exchange for receiving assistance, families must fulfill certain responsibilities or conditions. Pantawid actively seeks to improve the overall health of families, making regular checkups at healthcare centers a mandatory provision. The Department of Health, through their barangay healthcare workers on the ground, monitor and report on beneficiary compliance.
At the same time sa health po, dapat ang mga parents po, yung mga pregnant, dapat may monthly consultation po to avoid po yung mga miscarriage at other accidents related po sa pregnancy. Sa mga batang 0 to 14, mabigyan po sila ng tamang vaccination at other medical help na need po nila at their young age.
The sun is the center of the solar system, correct?
The Department of Education assigns local school teachers to monitor and support each of the beneficiaries, ensuring students comply with the 85% attendance rate required to stay in the program.
Nung wala pong Pantawid, marami po talagang nagdra-drop out or hindi po mapasok sa eskwela sapagkat kulang daw yung mga baon po nila papunta sa school. Pero nung may Pantawid, tumaas po yung enrollment rate po.
Mothers are required to attend monthly family development sessions where they receive instruction on topics such as positive child discipline, disaster preparedness, women's rights, and home finances.
One of the important things that most of the conditional cash transfer program has is that the money goes to the mother. Why is important that? Because we know by a lot of evidence that mothers tend to make the best decisions in terms of the future of their children. So mothers are making wise decisions on how to allocate these resources.
As the registered grantee in a Pantawid family, Mothers are in a unique position to help secure their family's future by properly managing the cash grants.
Kailangan nating paigtingin pa ang pag-i-implement ng family development session. Dahil unang-una, ang layunin nito ay palakasin ang katangian ng ating pamilyang Pilipino. Mabigyan diin ang malaking tungkulin ng mga magulang na mabigyan ng edukasyon at magandang kalusugan ang kanilang mga anak.
Pantawid is more than just a source of income. It is a bridge to opportunity. For Ryan Soriano from Iloilo, the program may be his chance to be the first high school graduate in his family.
Gusto ko kapag nakapagtapos kami, gusto ko po yung pamilya ko nakikita ko nakatira sa malaking bahay. Gusto ko magkaroon na ng sariling sasakyan para pag pumunta ako sa mga malalayong lugar, hindi na ako naglalakad. Gusto ko lahat ng mga pangangailangan ng pamilya ko at tutugunan sa pagkain, medikal, edukasyon at pangkalusugan, sir.
The eldest of 4 siblings, Ryan is a reserved and intense 17-year-old. He is a talented writer, a regular winner of awards and contests at school. He works 3 jobs and still manages to bring in above average grades. His father, Romel, is a security guard by day and a barangay watchman by night. His mother, Jane, doubles as a housewife and street vendor.
Stop ako sa pag-aaral. Sabi ko kay nanay, Nay, gusto ko mag-aaral. Pero siling ko, suportahan niyo ko. Sabi ng nanay ko, huwag ka mag-aaral kasi wala akong pera para sa'yo. Mag-asawa ka lang muna, sabi niya sa akin.
The intergenerational cycle of poverty is a major hurdle for many Filipinos. In 1 out of every 3 families, high school is the highest educational attainment of the parents, not because of low test scores, but because they could not afford the cost of schooling. Without higher education, parents bring in lower salaries, which means children may have to work and eventually drop out of school, beginning the cycle anew.
Magkakaroon tayo ng break sa intergenerational cycle ng poverty. Kasi this is an investment in human capital. When we say investment in human capital, we're talking about children here. Kaya nga, pinapag-aral natin ng mga bata para hindi sila ay bumalik sa dati nilang kinalalagyan na pagiging mahirap.
May times nga ang 20 ko, sir, hindi kahigo, sir. So, hindi ko kabakal sa pagkaon ko nga pamaha ko bala, sir. So, lagsa, kapangayo lang sa classmate ko, kung pwede, maulam ko na siya 5 piso, mama na, sir. When I was elementary, I've been bullied because you are poor. Rich kami do mayaman kami, hindi ka pwede. Amo na, sir. Because of that, I am inspired to study more harder so that I will show to them that I am worth it to be successful even though in this poverty, sir.
Yung intellect ng bata, yung analysis, still active siya because he wants to pursue his dreams and he wants to survive.
Ryan is doing everything he can to not let finances get in the way of his education. Outside of school, he works 3 jobs: fetching water for his neighbors in the mornings, tutoring his cousin in the afternoons, and hand-wrapping candies at a small factory in the evenings.
Si Ryan, pag nandun yan sa loob ng klase ko, minsan inaantok. Natuklasan ko na si Ryan pala nag-work up to midnight just to earn money for his fare and for his breakfast and allowance.
The Sorianos were one of the first families to be selected for Pantawid through the National Household Targeting System, locally known as Listahanan.
Nagpaalam ang social welfare na napalabas sila ng pangalan sa kanyang survey. Sabi nila, napili kayo sa computer. Sa computer daw, nalalabas ang pangalan.
Sa naalala ko po, I was grade 3 or grade 2. So, pagbati ko nga may 4 piece kali. Siyempre, sir, nasadyahan ko kay balaan ko may allowance para kabulig sa elementary days ko.
Napasalamat ako kasi pagdating na Pantawid nga na isa ko sa listahan, napasalamat ko na nakatulong sa amin sa pag-aaral ng aking mga anak. Sabi ko sa anak ko, may Pantawid na kayo. Mag-aaral kayo ng mabuti. Mabuti pa kayo. Naaral ka namin kahit mahirap kami na nanay nyo, tatay nyo.
Which brings us to some important questions. Who are the poor? How do you define poor? And if Pantawid is out to help those stricken by poverty, what separates the poor from the not poor enough?
If a program is aimed to help poor households with children, then one would want to be able to fairly identify poor households with children. Identifying poor households is not easy, and therefore the Philippines government, DSWD, decided to establish a national household targeting system.
The 2015 Listahanan is one of the most comprehensive targeting databases in the world. It surveys 15.1 million, or 75% of Filipino households, and is updated every 4 years. Beneficiaries are selected through objective and transparent data analysis methods, ensuring only eligible households are registered to receive benefits.
We are currently using what we call the Proximins test model. It's a statistical model that estimates the income of the household. So when we do the assessment, you have to go inside the house. Ina-assess natin yon, access nila sa tubig, access nila sa kuryente, toilet, tinitingnan natin lahat yun. And lahat ng variables na yun yung magkakaroon ng point score na mag-estimate ng income ng household. So once we identify poor and non-poor, dinadaan po natin sa bawat barangay po yan na konsultasyon. So yun yung pinakakakaiba sa tinatawag na targeting sa Pilipinas. If you will be comparing this across internationally, wala ho kayong makikita na mayroong consultation afterwards.
Feedback from beneficiaries shows they primarily use the grants to buy food and school supplies. The grant amounts alone are not enough to cover basic living expenses of a family. Beneficiaries still need to work, dispelling the myth that Pantawid members are fully dependent on cash grants for survival.
Kahit man lang Pantawid kami na tinutulungan ng gobyerno, at least naman ipinapakita namin na hindi lang talaga yun ang inaasahan namin. Nagtatrabaho kami rin para sa mga pangangailangan nila.
Kahit na may Pantawid, hindi ka magtrabaho, hindi pwede. Kaya kung Pantawid yung sandigan, kulang pa yun sa mga gastusin, pagkain. Araw-araw gagasto kami ng 350. Ang sahod sa asawa na, pila lang. Kapos.
Okay naman yun kasi yung Pantawid, pang ano lang yun. Parang may kunti ka lang na pangdagdag ba?
For all its positive effects on families, Pantawid is not without its detractors. When poverty is widespread, deciding who can and cannot receive aid is a difficult decision, bound to cause controversy.
I'll never forget this. A media person in an interview said, "Ma'am, I saw them lining up in Land Bank, at the Land Bank office, and they all look like they're not poor. I mean, even somebody had a Louis Vuitton bag with her."
Bakit daw maganda ang damit namin? Bakit daw na kami naka? Syempre naman, alangan naman nalalabas ka o umisa nga, ganun lang na gutay-gutay naman. Hindi naman, dahil Pantawid, hindi na ako pwedeng magdamit ng maganda. Marami naman dyan ukay-ukay na mura naman. Kaya maganda naman pag inayos mo ang sarili mo. Hindi naman kesyo pantawid na kami, hindi na kami magdamit. Oh, hindi naman po pwede.
You know, the poor take a bath twice a day. And of course, they're going to the bank. That is so empowering for someone who has not had the chance to go inside the bank. And of course, they will dress up.
Nung mag-ATM ka, di mo pa alam yung gumagano.
Oo, mag-team. Hindi ko alam mag-pindot-pindot. Sabi nila, ambal ni Ma'am Jeannie. Ako guide sa'yo. Yung social welfare. Sabi Ma'am Jeannie, parang mayaman. Sa totoong buhay, dito lang ako sa Pantawid na naranasan na ganun ba. Nakapunta ako sa bangko, nag-withdraw ako ng pera. Parang social. May kitira dito mga tao. Sabi niya, dumating na nagtanggap ng pera ng Pantawid na marami na silang pera. Ako tahimik lang. Nga kami na hindi kami kapasok sa Pantawid. Hindi ko alam, sabi ko. Tanungin niyo yung social welfare kaya sila nagsasurvey.
Envy has allegedly provoked other problems for beneficiaries. There are reports of families being forced into community service by local government officials, with tasks not included in the Pantawid contract.
May mga ibang barangay captains pa, mga ibang council na parang dahil Pantawid na kami, dapat gawin namin to, dapat gawan namin yan, maglinis ng barangay o anuman. Kung anong gusto nilang gawin namin, parang, pero sabi ko noon, hindi kasama yan sa kondisyon. Sinabi ko sa mga kasama ko, yung pagtulong natin sa paglinis sa barangay, yun ay voluntary. Pero mga iba, maraming nagre-reklamo na palang obligatory sa kanila. Minsan pa nga, minumulta pa nga sila, kaya doon na ako nagreklamo noon. Hindi dapat.
The grievance redress system is a formalized process by which complaints are brought to the government's attention. Communities, project implementers, and the media are encouraged to file grievances and appeal resolutions. Issues raised through this system have an almost 100% resolution rate, and service guidelines ensure cases are addressed in a timely manner. Though 80 to 90% of grievances are registered face-to-face, other channels exist for those who wish to do so anonymously.
Yung family, pagka nagkaroon ng problema, let's say hindi siya nakatanggap na kanyang benefits for the quarter or for the semester, magko-complain sila through our city links. I-check nila kung pwede bang respondehan na right there and now o hindi. So, umaangat siya papunta sa national level pagka hindi na kayang ma-resolve sa baba.
Much of the complaint had to do with why are we not part of the program, or why is this person part of the program? So that really meant cleaning up the list. And approximately we have delisted 100,000 family names because they were either duplicates and or they were not supposed to be part of the program because they are non-poor. And 19,000 actually waived. They said, thank you very much, we are in a good place, we don't need the support.
Another common complaint filed into the grievance redress system is the accusation of political patronage, where the beneficiary's inclusion is attributed to their relationship with politicians.
Ang Pantawid Pamilya Pilipino program is a non-partisan program. Hindi ini-encourage ang programa na iboto itong kandidato. Walang ganon at hindi po pwede po yun. Pero ang mga politiko natin na tumatakbo ngayon, they can support the program. Pero hindi nila pwedeng sabihin na kung hindi nyo ako iboboto, tatanggalin kayo sa listahan. Hindi po yun.
Sa isang lugar kung saan dikit-dikit ang mga bahay, maingay at kitang-kita ang bahid ng kahirapan, ay nakatira ang aking pamilya. Lugar kung saan mailap ang kaginhawaan at ang karangyaan ay isang napakalaking pangarap lamang. 6 kami magkakapatid, 3 babae at 3 lalaki. 21 anyos ang pinakamatanda, 2 taon naman ang aming bunso. Araw-araw namin sinusuong ang bawat bayo ng problema sa pang-araw-araw naming pamumuhay. At pilit humahanap ng panlaman ng tiyan upang maipagpatuloy ang buhay. Bawat pagmulat ng aming mga mata ay iniisip agad kung paano mairaraos ang buong araw ng maayos at matiwasay, ni hindi magkanda o gaga sa paghahanap ng ikabubuhay. Nagiging lakas ang ngiti ng bawat isa, na siyang daan upang makalimutan ng panandali ang problema.
Those words are from the valedictory speech of David Manansala, a graduate of the Pantawid program. At only 16, David is pursuing his degree in engineering at the University of the Philippines on a full scholarship. David now lives in a dorm on campus. It takes him weeks to save enough to visit his family, as a round-trip bus ticket home costs over $14, or almost 2 days' wages.
Napili ko po yung course ko dahil pangarap ko pong balang araw, pakita ko po yung obra maestra ko, kumbaga, yung building na makakatulong balang araw sa paglago ng ekonomiya ng bansa natin. Ayun yung pinaghirapan ko, yun yung bunga ng pangarap ko, bunga ng pagtsatsaga ko.
Nung si David, third year, talagang hirap na hirap talaga kami. Pero nagtinda po talaga siya para mairaos niya yung field trip niya. Lahat ng mga gawain sa school niya kasi gusto niya maging top 1 nga. Kaya ko nanay, basta sa pag-aaral ko, kaya ko. Hanggang ngayon, dumidiskarte po siya talaga. May mga anak akong mga ganyan na nagpupursige, na magpatuloy para sa ikauunlad ng pamilya namin.
Ako po mismo, ako na po yung magpapatunay na sobrang laib na po nung naitulong at maitutulong pa po ng programa. Kung mawawala po yung programang yun, napakaraming pangarap po yung masisira, napakaraming pangarap yung pwedeng maabot pa at maaabot pa po sa mga susunod na henerasyon.
All of those involved in Pantawid agree that the program is a necessary tool in the fight against poverty, one that requires long-term commitment, as crossing the poverty line is a victory that does not happen overnight.
Ang susunod na henerasyon ay gawin nilang batas ang programang ito. Alam namin na marami pang pamilya ang matutulungan para maiangat nila ang kanilang buhay at makaranas din at maramdaman nila na hindi sila nag-iisa, hindi sila pinababayaan ng gobyerno.
Ang message ko naman sa mga kabataan kagaya ko na naghihirap, do not stop. Continue what you're dreaming because dreaming is free. You're free.
Lahat ng bagay ay hindi madali, ngunit lahat ito ay posible. Kung may sipag, tiyaga, determinasyon at pananampalataya ka sa poong may kapal, makukuha mo ang lahat ng bagay na ninanais mo. Mahirap mag-aral, ngunit mas mahirap ang walang pinag-aralan. Sa tulong ng aking pamilya na siyang nagiging inspirasyon ko sa lahat ng aking ginagawa, pinapangako ko, iaalis ko sila sa hapdi ng kahirapan.